Folks, the story that you are about to hear is unprecedented nonsense. That is what the UN stands for, the United Nothing. Unprecedented nonsense and not the United Nations, because I can tell you that what they are about to do is absolutely insane. First of all, let me just simply say this as they relate to the nation of Israel. The United Nothing is the only organization that I can think of that is supposed to be a league of nations that work together that calls for the extermination of one of the nations in its organization. It's completely ridiculous. And the story that we are about to talk about is literally, there's no exception to this. It is absolutely ugly. And what it continues to do is seek to destroy the Jewish state. As we speak, there is what I would call an unprecedented open UN probe of Israel that is going to be led by a horrible individual who is literally the former head of the United Nations Human Rights Council. If you don't know who Navi Pillay is, she is a person who has gone out of her way to continue to accuse Israel of doing things that they have never done. She stands up for Hamas, has stood up for the causes of Hezbollah, and has never, ever given Israel a pass for any of the legitimate things that it's done, including the fact that Hamas and Hezbollah continue to break every international war crime that you can think of in the books, in the commission of the things that it does in the name of fighting for freedom. And the majority of the people that it comes against are its own people. Hamas, for example, in the 4,300 missile attacks that took place a few weeks ago, literally committed war crimes against its own people, much more Israel. We continue to see this kind of nonsense going on. And now with this open-ended investigation, this fake witch hunt, they want to dig into the 11-day Gaza war, and they want to look at the actions of Israel in the West Bank and Judea. It's completely ridiculous, especially when you consider all of the attacks coming from the Gaza Strip, and the majority of casualties have been for the Palestinian civilians, have been by Hamas. Folks, here's the deal. The Bible says in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, that if you bless Israel, God will bless you. And if you curse Israel, God will curse you. And the United Nations continues to curse Israel. What they are doing with this investigation is they are going to make it an investigation that stands in perpetuity, that basically calls out Israel on things that are not true. Every time Israel is going to want to defend itself, the United Nothing is going to scream out with this person who hates Israel by simply saying that they are committing a war crime, when in reality, the people that are attacking them are the ones that are committing war crimes, and Israel is doing nothing but defending itself. We are getting to the place right now, folks, where when we talk about Jesus coming soon, he is absolutely coming soon, because the condition that we're beginning to see mounting up in the Middle East is one indicative of the geopolitical shifting necessary in order to create the circumstances that we see welcoming in the final Antichrist and all of the other things that go with that. This is a perfect example. The example of what just happened in Syria with respect to Russians' involvement with intercepting, using their own technology, the attacks of Israel on Syria in an attempt to defend themselves. Folks, we are seeing this happen more and more. Russia is signaling Israel that they're not going to allow them to do that anymore. They want to rebuild a new state in Syria, and they want it to be an extension, in essence, a bit of a colony of theirs, for lack of a better term, so that they can develop the best and most exclusive military balance of bases in that arena so that they can eventually attack Israel one day. We know that that's going to happen because Ezekiel chapter 38 says it's going to happen. I think we should be paying attention to everything that's going on, folks, because bottom line is things are changing, and they're changing very, very quickly, especially with now the United States beginning to signal to Russia that they are not in approval of Israel actually airstriking Syria. Now, this is becoming more and more of a problem. And I said that this would be something that would be happening, and it serves as more evidence that Jesus Christ is coming soon. Folks, you cannot forget this. You cannot miss out on the fact that Jesus is coming soon. He is. Keep your eyes open, you guys. Pay attention to the things that are happening around us. And I know that I sound like a broken record, but I should be sounding like a broken record because these things are happening a mile a second. They are just happening so fast. We've never seen anything like it. And we need to open our eyes because indeed he is coming soon. And none of us want to be left behind. So we need to get our minds and our hearts on him. And folks, we need to support Israel. It's a very important thing to do. We can no longer be a bystander. We must stand in the gap, and we must continue to do these things because God commands us to do these things, not because we just simply want to make a difference. Yes, hopefully we can make a difference, but we need to stand because God has called us to stand. It's plain and simple. Jesus is coming soon, you guys. Let's get ready for this. God bless you.